All right, today we're putting on our detective hats. We're going to try and solve the ultimate cold case, the story of our own deep past. Now think about it. The crime scene is millions of years old. There are no witnesses left, and all the evidence is buried deep in the earth. So the big question is, how do you make it talk? That's really what this is all about. Every fossil, every ancient tool, every single layer of dirt is a clue. But, they don't just give up their secrets. We need a modern forensic toolkit to interrogate them, to piece together the story of who we are and where we came from. And that is one heck of a challenge. So let's officially open the file on this investigation. And the scale of it is it's mind-boggling. We're talking about millions of years, clues that are buried under entire continents, scattered to the winds by time itself.
And what's so incredible is that these clues are everywhere, telling different parts of the story. On one hand, you have something like this hominin jaw from Olduvai Gorge. It's almost 2 million years old. It's a key piece in our own evolutionary puzzle. And then on the other hand, you've got this copper artifact from North America. It's much younger, maybe 3,000 years old, but it tells an amazing story about technology and culture. They're worlds apart, but each one has a story to tell if we can figure out how to listen.
And this right here is the fundamental problem for any historical detective. There are no eyewitnesses. For almost all of human history, there were no written records. All we have to go on are the physical things people left behind. It's pure forensic science, just on a geological timescale. So, where do you even begin? How do these detectives of the deep past get started? Well, like any good investigation, it starts at the scene of the crime. So let's take a trip to one of the most important crime scenes in the entire story of humanity. Welcome to Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. Now, this isn't just some canyon. You have to think of it like a book that's been sliced open. Each one of those layers of rock and sediment you see is like a different page, preserving a perfect snapshot of a moment in time. The climate, the animals, and the early humans who were living there. It's a 2-million-year-old archive, just packed with clues. And the kind of evidence they pull from a place like this is just amazing. I mean, you've got the obvious stuff, right? Fossilized bones, stone tools. But the modern detective goes so much deeper. We're talking about extracting scraps of ancient DNA, analyzing chemical signatures in the soil to find where people lived, even identifying microscopic plant remains to reconstruct the entire lost world they inhabited. Okay, so finding the clues is one thing, but figuring out what they mean, that's a whole other ballgame. And for that, you need an incredibly sophisticated scientific toolkit, a whole range of forensic techniques that let us hear the faintest whispers from the past. Let's start with one of the coolest tools for telling time. It's called amino acid dating. The basic idea is this. Pretty much all life on Earth is built with what chemists call left-handed amino acids. It's just how biology works. But the second an organism dies, those molecules start to slowly, and, this is the key, predictably flip into their mirror image, a right-handed form. That process is called racemization. So what you have is this perfect little molecular clock that starts ticking the moment something dies. By measuring the ratio of right-handed to left-handed amino acids in a sample, doesn't matter if it's a fossil, a shell, or even the lens of an animal's eye, scientists can calculate with incredible accuracy how long ago it died. Next up in the toolkit is geoarcheology, which is basically geological fingerprinting. This is so cool. Scientists can analyze the chemical signature of, say, an obsidian arrowhead and match it to the exact volcano it was mined from hundreds of miles away. That tells you all about ancient trade routes. Or they can use ground-penetrating radar to map an entire buried village without ever digging a single hole. They're literally reading the story written in the earth itself. But, maybe the most revolutionary tool, the one that has been a true game changer, is the one that lets us go beyond bones and stones and read the actual blueprint of life from the past. The power to analyze ancient DNA has completely rewritten huge parts of our history. And this is where the investigation gets really fun. Because armed with this amazing toolkit, scientists aren't just confirming what they already thought. In a lot of cases, they're taking the old history books, throwing them out, and starting from scratch. Let's look at a few of the massive cases they've already cracked. 200 years. What are you looking at? That's the age of a single bowhead whale. Scientists figured this out using that same amino acid technique on the proteins in its eye. For years, hunters would find old 19th century harpoon tips stuck in living whales, so they suspected they lived a long time. But science proved it. These amazing creatures can live for 2 centuries. That's the power of that molecular clock. Okay, let's take on another huge topic, animal domestication. For decades, the story we all learned was that taming animals was this incredibly rare stroke of genius. It happened maybe once in the Near East, and then the idea spread from there. Well, DNA analysis came along and just flipped that whole script upside down. Turns out it wasn't rare at all.
Just get a load of this data. We thought pigs were domesticated maybe twice. DNA says nope, try at least 6 different times, independently. Goats and sheep? We thought it was a one-time thing. The genetics show at least 5 distinct origins for each of them. Cattle? All over the place. What this shows us is that domestication wasn't some miracle. It was the natural, almost expected outcome whenever humans and animals lived in close contact.
And this quote from one of the big studies just nails it. It says that having all these different origins isn't the exception, it's the rule. I mean, that is a massive fundamental shift in how we understand one of the most important events in human history. Let's go back to Olduvai Gorge one last time. For a long, long time, the main theory was that our early ancestors were timid scavengers. They just hang back and wait for a lion to finish a kill, then run in and grab the scraps. But a super close look at the fossil bones from a famous site there told a very different story. The cut marks from their stone tools weren't on the leftover bits of bone. They were on the meatiest prime cuts. That means the humans got there first. They were hunting and taking down huge animals. They weren't just scavengers, they were skilled hunters. Case closed. So we've seen how this incredible forensic toolkit is solving some of the oldest, coldest cases here on Earth. But the investigation isn't stopping here. In fact, these same exact techniques are now being aimed at the next great frontier. You see, this whole detective story we've been following, it's all been about looking backward, deep into our own past. But now, we're taking that same toolkit and we're pointing it outward, towards the stars. And that really brings us to the final, biggest question. Remember how all life on Earth is left-handed? Well, imagine we get a rock sample from Mars, and when we analyze it, we find that the amino acids inside have a strong preference, either left or right-handed. That would be an unbelievable biosignature, a potential smoking gun for life. The very same chemical fingerprinting that can tell us the age of a whale could one day solve the ultimate cold case of all. Are we alone in the universe?